So let's bring in two senators who have been calling out the Biden administration and trying to hold them accountable. Let's be joined now by Kansas Senator and OBGYN Roger Marshall and Indiana Senator Mike Braun. Senators, good to see you both. Thank you for joining us. Senator Braun, I do want to start with you. President Biden has plenty of time to spend this selling the spending plan in Minnesota. He has plenty of time to go to Nantucket, go to Delaware on the weekends. But he doesn't have time to talk about the supply chain crisis. He doesn't have time to go to Waukesha. I mean, where is the accountability to discuss those priorities about what Americans are concerned about, what they're mourning for, what they're dealing with?
First of all, Sean, he doesn't appreciate the productive economy where I came from. I was over there soon after he started serving on supply chain, and we were talking about it in his office. So this has been out there for literally 8-9 months. And the fact is, it's getting delayed because there's no measurable improvement. I check in with the business that I used to run for all those years prior to becoming a senator, and the supply chain is not loosening up. And the reason is, pre-COVID, everything was working perfectly. I mean, we had things humming in high gear, and decisions from the Biden administration, calling a one-man wrecking crew, has been to disrupt all of this, from the misnavigation through COVID, where you just disproportionately shut down the real economy. And then he tries to sell this sugar high of spending more money. We got together with a couple groups today on how outlandish this thing is in terms of how much debt it's going to actually add over 10 years. It's closer to probably 2.8 trillion than 300 billion or so, because none of these programs ever get discontinued. In typical gimmicks, any of their revenue doesn't kick in until years 6 through 10. Everything they've done have been along the lines of that, which is phony. And that's why they backpedal, they're scrambling. And I think it's one of the most embarrassing things that Pelosi has ever had to contend with, how this is navigated through the House and where they are now with tons of uncertainty.
Right.
Well, speaking of Biden's spending plan, Senator Marshall, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, he says the goal is to debate and pass the Build Back Better bill before Christmas, before December 25th. How likely do you think this is to happen, actually?
I just don't see it happening. The biggest issues back home are inflation and vaccine mandates. I think America knows this is just going to add fuel to the fire, that this is an inflationary measure, the government printing more money. And inflation occurs when we have too many dollars chasing too few goods and services. The president has created the inflation. He's got a tiger by the tail. That tail's on fire, and now he wants to throw more gasoline on it. I think Joe Manchin knows that the people of West Virginia are feeling the pinch of inflation. I think Kirsten Sinema, the people of Arizona are feeling that pinch of inflation. The whole country's feeling it, and we know that this Build Back Better will create more inflation.
Senator Braun, I want to pick up on that because according to the Congressional Budget Office, the Build Back Better plan, approximately 6 million non-U.S. citizens who live in the U.S. largely as a result of illegal border crossings before January 11th would be granted parole and immediately go from being unlawful to lawfully present. I mean, I don't understand how anyone can vote for that and call us a country of laws.
I mean, there's not only that shoehorned into this spending spree, but abortion doesn't have the protection of the Hyde Amendment. So we'll be back to throwing federal dollars possibly at paying for abortions. You're going to be expanding places like the IRS. They're not going to go after the big guys. That's going to end up hitting Main Street. There are so many policy issues that we need to expose, all of us, because they're going to try to confuse us with the sugar high of all this spending, which is going to end up just being more federal debt in the long run. So the biggest thing I'd worry about the Build Back Better is all the abominations that are in there policy-wise, and it won't unfurl until we're actually in the midst of it, because none of this stuff gets fully clarified. You end up ramming it through, and then we never undo anything on our side of the aisle. We got a lot of material to work with for 2022 and 2024, and my goodness, we better go to town with it.
Well, speaking of abortion, Senator Marshall, tomorrow the Supreme Court will hear a landmark abortion case revolving around the Mississippi law that bans abortion after 15 weeks. It's a direct challenge to Roe versus Wade. You're an OBGYN who delivered more than 5,000 babies. Talk to us about your experience and how important it is that science is the basis here of the ruling.
Yeah, Lindsay, I had the pleasure, the honor of delivering a baby most every day of my life for 30 years. And one of my favorite visits was the 15-week visit. On that 15-week visit, mom would come in. The first question I'd ask her, are you feeling your baby move? And her eyes would light up and say, yeah, I'm feeling my baby move. And we'd lay down, we'd measure her babies, how big it's getting. We'd listen to the heartbeat. And what I noticed is that baby's heart rate would change based upon the mom's voice, which would maybe make it relax and slow down. And maybe there was a big brother or sister in the room as well. And maybe the baby, when that big sister heard her little brother's heartbeat, said, Mommy, Mommy, what's that? That unborn baby's heart rate would increase. So we know that babies feel pain at 15 weeks. We know that they respond to mom's voice, to a sibling's voice. Can you imagine living in a country that allows us to end the life of that baby when it feels pain, when it recognizes its mom, its dad's voice? This is a barbaric country to allow that happen. Only one of 7 nations in the world that allow abortion after 15 weeks. So we hope and pray the Supreme Court gets this right, that they value the life of both the mom and the baby.
Right. That context is so important. I love the statistic you just used because I don't think people fully appreciate how isolated we are as a country. But Senators Braun and Marshall, thank you both very much for coming and joining us tonight.
Welcome.
Thank you.